Yeah, girl. There was a time when I didn't know much in this world. Then I put on ancient wisdom, and I got the truth of my soul.
Yes, alas. Welcome to Ancient Wisdom, episode 71. A mighty oak, the strongest of all trees, boasts of his ability to withstand the storms. He's a tough guy. He's got the strongest of all wood. But of course, the reeds come along and say, "Hey, yo, Duke, you can't withstand a storm like me." And he goes, "Let's see." The storm comes, and the oak snaps. Why? Because of his rigidity. And the reeds just sway in the wind, as strong as ever. Oh. There it is. There it is. Hope you learned a thing or two. And that's kind of the theme of the Gita in general, but especially chapter 11, which is what we're gonna get in today. Chapter 11 of the Bhagavad Gita, my friend. And our hero's journey continues, and he goes on with this. Arjuna says, "You have answered my questions, O Lord, and now I am wise. But now I desire to see the form which pervades the cosmos." See? Desire? Huh? Show me your cosmic form if you think I am capable of beholding it. Have you guys seen God?
If you see God, you will die. I think that's
Is that what they say?
I think that was in
Indiana
the Old
Jones?
Testament.
Oh.
Yeah. I think, yeah, Indiana Jones, but also in the Old Testament.
You know what also?
He knows
Old
too much
Testament.
looking into the crystal skull. He thought he wanted it.
I'm pretty sure if you see God, you just die. Like, you
Damn.
can't look at God. He'll kill you.
So you may remember that the only person to see the bodily form of God in the Bible was
Moses.
Moses, my friend.
Oh. In the bush?
No,
When?
bush isn't God. It's a bush.
In some kind of divine revelation.
Some kind
it could
of
have been,
shrub, Evan.
Been God.
I said bodily form. Remember?
I didn't know that.
So he goes up the mountain. I don't know. One of those times he goes up the
Das
mountain. And it was much like this. I'm pretty sure he's like, "Let me see you, God. I want to see you naked." and God's like, I don't do that kind of thing. And he straight up says, as Poge referenced here, "No man can see my face and live." So you were correct in that. So I think it's God that comes up with the brilliant idea. He's like, "But I don't want to just leave you hanging here, Moses. You're one of my chosen. You're gonna lead the Jews to the Holy Land." So what God comes up with, he's like, "I'm gonna show you my back."
Oh.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to go like this.
Even his back is too
Even the back.
magnificent.
Yeah, it's too magnificent. His beautiful
His
back.
his lats are too big.
Yeah, seriously, killer. You could crush a walnut between those things. So I don't know. Any thoughts about that off the top? I'll ask you guys, right? What does it mean that you can't see God's face?
Ooh.
Right? And what does it mean in this
Cryptic.
context, right? That you might only maybe be able to see God's back.
I can't help but think very Eastern and Buddhist with it. Like there's so many analogies about trying the sound of one hand clapping, or like trying to look into a mirror, and that's, you think that's you kind of thing. You can't really quite understand exactly what it is that you're looking at, or you're trying to look at.
Deep. I like it. Yeah, very vision, very koan, psychedelic.
Yeah, very.
Any thoughts, Boach? What comes to mind when I say looking at the face of God?
Well, I think when people look at each other, there's a connection. There's an eye to eye. It's kind of meeting each other as equals. And I just don't think you can do that with the divine.
Yeah, wow, deep, because we're not equals. Awesome.
Maybe God can look at like the Virgin Mary up in heaven. Maybe they can talk to each other.
Right.
I'm just thinking of examples. A saint.
Awesome.
A saint, maybe, who had sacrificed himself for God. Maybe Saint Peter can look at God. But I don't think you can see God while you're a mere mortal and be of that equivalence to get the message. Your brain will explode from all the divinity.
From all the divinity.
You must first become divine to be able to look at God.
Okay, I like that. And then Evan, what do you think? Why look at the back of God?
I think it's because that might be the threshold of our understanding. Because like how do
you guys are hitting it. Being deep.
How do we even know what we want to look at if even the back is so powerful for us, and he's still like, shield your eyes kind of thing.
It's like the emperor's going by in the caravan and everybody's got like, don't even look at his chariot.
Shield your eyes.
Some kind of like that. Like,
wow,
you're not deep in the league. You can't even observe.
I like that a lot. So deep.
It definitely seems like another metaphor, though. It almost makes me want to think there is no front or there is no face.
Okay.
It's all a paradox, like we've talked about a million times on the show.
So that's all super cool. You guys are really hitting some good points here, which is that, when I thought about this, I thought of Plato's cave, right? Because you could really only think in allegories. You could really only think in poems in a certain way. What does this remind you of? And that sort of leads you to the process of uncovering the truth, which is, if you guys remember Plato's cave, it's like the guy was in the cave for an entire lifetime and there was a fire behind him and he only saw like figures, shadowy figures of objects. He saw the two-dimensional representation. And then when he finally left the cave, he saw life for the first time. But then when he went back, no one believed him, long story short. And that's kind of what I think of when I see, the face of God versus the back. The manifestations versus what God really is, right? What we see, what we think of as God and what God really is.
I think we wouldn't know what to do if we saw God's face.
Yeah,
maybe that's what it means. That there's too much knowledge, and what do you say? You'd be destroyed or something, or you can't handle it.
No man can see my face and live.
I think you become vaporized, like light comes through your mouth, your eyes, you explode.
Was that Indiana Jones too?
I think it was.
The divinity fills you and you burn away.
There's a fun story of the Ark of the Covenant when it's being transferred to somewhere. Can't remember. Back to the city of David, I believe. And in Indiana Jones, you can't open the Ark of the Covenant and look because it's crazy. And it has a few things in there. It has the tablets in there. It has the staff of Aaron, the manna from God. Maybe that's it. Maybe one more thing.
Man, that manna's still good.
The manna's still good, dog. Food from God. Has no expiration date. It's probably like honey. Where was I going with that? Yeah, but there's a fun story when the ark was being transferred in the Bible where a dude touches the ark who's not of the Levitican priest class, I believe, and just gets struck by lightning and dies immediately. You can't even touch it. And you know what it was? I felt so bad for this guy. You read the Bible, you're like, what the fuck? Dude, I think that, this is just Mitch's interpretation of it all. The priest was holding it like this, and you could only hold it with rods that you put into it to kind of hold it up with another guy in the front. And the dude tripped. He's like, and the dude next to him, he's like, he tried to steady him, and he just exploded. He just died. And I was like, dog, he was just trying to help. He was saving him from tripping.
No exceptions.
No, and God's like, no,
I'm in control of this situation.
Like, do not fucking touch. This is my story. If you want to trip, that'd be on me. So very deep, and getting even deeper with it. When I hear this, I tend to think about it's the same reason that the mind must forget things. Where am I going with this, right? Ooh. we can't retain every memory that we have ever accumulated because it would be torture.
Yep, I agree.
You'd see every death, every pain, every mistake. It's the same reason why we must forget things. It's too much information. To see the face of God would be too much information. But to see the back is to see the shadow of the essence of God's form that we can ascertain in this life. Like Poge said, no man can see it. We are not eye to eye with God, so we're not on the same level of workings.
Yeah, it sounds like a paralyzing situation. How would you know what to do next in your life if you had all the information available ever?
Yeah, very true.
How would you prioritize that?
So I've sort of translated this as like the face of God is the workings of God, right? The face is the workings. It's where it all happened, which are too many to comprehend, especially with a limited form of the brain. But despite his better judgment, Krishna gives Arjuna the eyes of God.
Oh my God.
Good balance.
Your bottle says Kino on it.
But alas, the future and the present depress me too much. Let's go back to ancient times.
That's a good line.
So Krishna bestows upon Prince Arjuna, against his better judgment, the eyes of God. Behold now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of very divine forms, multicolored like the sea. Behold the many things which no one has ever seen or heard before. He's the first. This universal form can show you all that you desire now, in the past, present, and future. Everything is here completely.
Whoa.
Damn, right?
So he's like opening up a portal to the multiverse. It's
Seems
like,
that way.
everything
Yeah,
is in
some
there.
Thanos shit.
Spinning.
Doctor Strange. So he gives him the eyes. I don't know if he like gives him physically, plucks out his eyes and gives it to him. But the one thing from this is like no one has ever seen this before. Not even Moses, really, if you think about it. I like thinking in the Marvel universe, speaking of which, I like thinking that all the religions are tied in the same universe. Because they are. I mean, this universe.
Oh, like they all hang out in heaven together?
But Jesus is chilling with Buddha and like Krishna, but maybe the Indians don't know about Jesus.
I like
but
that
he's still
because
there.
it's really all God in the end. Like
Yes.
one religion is not going to change the God that exists. So like,
Dude, so
might as well
true,
represent it as everybody's viewpoint. It'll be more fun.
Very fucking true. And I could get so deep into this. I could do a whole episode about stuff like that. But it's just like God. Everybody describes God as the indescribable, correct? That's the one thing we could really say about him. Or he's love or one of these empty phrases. All right, well, if he's indescribable, how do you call him Krishna? How do you call him Jesus?
Ooh, why
Right?
name at all?
Why name it all? You can't name. So therefore, by definition, these are fractions of gods or like demigods or representations of gods.
I think Islam does it where they don't have any portrayal. Like there just is not any images. Like they don't make pictures.
True. Of Muhammad, you can't draw the picture probably of God.
Yeah, if you go
Allah
into a
himself.
mosque, it's just like Middle Eastern patterns. It's
And
not
this is what we were
really-
talking about even on the ride over here, which is great, is that idols, it's a big thing. And every religion and every piece of the world, every great mind, they have like a piece. They could have good ideas and they have bad ideas. No government's perfect, no religion is perfect, but like sometimes you get these good ideas and you're getting closer and you're getting closer to it. But the point of God and what they always say is that he's indescribable. Like it's almost trying to tell you to stop trying, right?
I agree that God can be picked and choose from different religions. Like certain religions had it right, and I think it's funny how adamant people of one religion insult you if you don't go fully one way, be totally on board with one thing.
Yeah.
Like they don't leave any room for maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. I swear that's the worst, just going on this quick side tangent because we're here. It's like, yes, Christianity is the greatest thing for the Western mind because that's how we are born. And we live in that culture and society. But if you don't have any real semblance of God, you should be Christian, because at least if you follow the Christian rules, you're gonna be closer to God. Just follow the rules. If they don't have the mustard seed, this is deep, I was thinking about this. If you don't even have the mustard seed, you're dumb. Like, please, for the love of God, follow Christianity, or like a religion to the T. Not calling all Christians dumb, of course, but it's just like, it's good for you. It's good for people to do this. But, if you want to get a little wider view of things and be more woken up to things, it's like what Evan said. It's people have the right idea about God, and you can't be condemning people for just having a belief that's different than you. They're both praising God, but the only thing that's different is your traditions, for example. Arjuna saw in the universal form unlimited mouths and unlimited eyes. It was all wondrous. The form was decorated with divine, dazzling ornaments and arrayed in many garbs. He was as bright as 1,000 suns. All was magnificent, all expanding, unlimited.
Woo!
Man.
That's hot.
That is hot, man. 1,000 suns. I can't take one on a country Mississippi summer.
I wonder if Arjuna's eyes were just Benjamin Franklin's spectacles.
Yeah, probably.
With the multiple lenses.
I wish you could turn off the acid trip like that. Oh, God.
Too much.
Just too much.
It might be like a thing where, like, man, how can I describe this? Where an ant is trying to look up at our lives. Mm-hmm. Or, like, if we're trying to look up at something that's above us, we always see, like, a flat version of it. If that makes any sense. Yep. We don't see the whole thing. We see like a flat version of stuff.
True.
In our comprehension.
Yeah, the Plato, two-dimensional, whatever.
Yeah.
Similar to only looking at the back of God kind of thing. It's like, it's all, not quite the front. You can never.
Yeah.
And maybe he wasn't forbidding Arjuna from seeing the front of him. He's just like, you can't, man. Just get it out of your head.
I'm just telling you, bro.
And it's the same thing that you've said, which always blows my mind, is the concept of nothingness. It's like, if I can't imagine that, I can't possibly imagine the total opposite of nothingness, which is everything.
Wow, deep. Yes, exactly.
So it's like there's always a flipped side. There's always an equal and opposite, it seems, that you can't see both ends of the spectrum.
I like that a lot. Yeah, we're kind of stuck in the middle. All the religious texts always say we're like the middle. Poach said it last week, I think, too. Man is meant to be the middle. Mm-hmm. It's there's things that are huge, there are things that are tiny, but we seem to be in the middle. Is it our perception, or is it that how it actually is? You know, Christians believe that the universe was made for man. Like, we are the middle. If you believe in the Christian theology, like, yes, then we are the middle, because it's all supposed to be from our perspective, which does make sense, even scientifically, which is the fact that we are the only conscious ones. We are the ones that have language and can think about all these things. So when I hear, starting off dermal, then we'll get deeper, right? When I hear 1,000 suns, I think to myself, you already can't look at one sun. One sun is too bright, man. Try staring at that shit.
Maybe that's why they're so far apart from each other.
Could be, my friend.
2 suns is just too much, man.
Being too deep, man. So it implies, interdimensional, super deep, super powerful. All right, getting a little deeper, right? The eyes and mouths of God. Nothing about that. You don't think, dog, the eyes and mouths of God that are unlimited are everyone and everything that's ever existed.
That's what I thought of, yep.
There it is. What are the eyes and why does he have so many? Because it is everything. It is everybody. It is us.
All conscious beings.
Conscious beings. And maybe even unconscious beings. Everything. Come to think of it.
Yeah, and I just keep thinking about the front. That's why we can't look at the front, because we are the front. That's where I want to go. That's my mind.
Now that's deep. Yeah, you were getting to that with looking in the mirror, this and that. Yeah, what is the front of God?
How do you see your own eyes? How do you create the vision that you're experiencing?
Yeah, wow.
It's all very
Wow.
trippy.
And then, of course, all magnificent, all expanding, all unlimited. Does that remind you of anything? It reminds you of novelty. It reminds you of our minds, consciousness, civilization. It always expands. Like everything's expanding. Are you guys familiar with redshift? I love the idea of redshift in the universe. It's not only growing. I mean, they found out once, oh, the universe is actually growing. What the fuck? What's going on here? And then they found this discovery that it's not only growing, it's accelerating. Redshift, we see this sort of which means that it's going away from us at a faster rate than we could even see it. Much like the ability to look at the face of God. The concept of looking at the face of God is running away from us. Think about this, guys. The concept of God, of novelty, is always just outside of our grasp. And the universe is telling us this.
It sounds like you're saying that we cannot look at ourself because of everything we just said. It's just not possible.
Right.
So maybe where we do look, where we could see infinite, we see blackness.
Deep.
Where we should see infinite, it just doesn't work.
Right. We
Because
see mystery.
Yeah, because you can't look at yourself because you're a piece of that cosmic consciousness.
So deep. And then we call it space or something, or dark matter. Very true.
And I like the concept of forgetfulness that you mentioned earlier too, because
so deep.
if we go as far as we possibly can, we're getting to the edge of the universe.
Yeah.
It's almost as if where we came from is no longer a part of our life at all. It's
So cool.
it's as far as where we are now was
Right.
from when we began. It's like you've never made any progress the farthest you've gone.
Yeah, man. I don't even know my great-great-great-grandfather's name. How sad.
That is sad.
You know?
Mitch.
We don't know where we came from, literally.
And it's possible you might have never wanted to know. Maybe he was a bad guy.
Damn.
It wasn't Mad Money, Mitch.
Rumor, the legends say it was the first Mad Money Mitch. Jedediah Mad Money Mitch. I'll tell you what.
So we can't look at ourselves.
We can't look at ourselves, man. Just like Arjuna now, with the eyes of God, could see the entire universe within one place called God. Oh, what do you think about that?
So he wasn't just looking at a deity, a emperor of all. He was looking at everything itself.
There it is. And in this way, dare I say that the author, this is like 7 steps out. It's us reading about God who's teaching Arjuna, but there's a guy that wrote this down.
Yeah,
obviously.
who wrote this down?
Who fucking wrote this?
Yeah, wait a minute.
So this is like
Wait, Arjuna didn't write this?
Yeah, maybe. So I'm just thinking that the author of the Gita right now, in a way, is giving us the eyes of God, bestowing upon us the vision of God. He's trying to show us without telling us yet again, which is a common theme in these religious texts, because it cannot be said. You know, Jesus, Moses, none of these people ever was like, here's God, here's what to do, A, B, C. The book wouldn't be 10,000 pages long.
True.
It'd be a page.
Other texts too. I was thinking about the Bible and how people call the word of God as if God had a pen and paper in his hand.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
Yeah, didn't Jesus write the Bible?
Yeah, I think so.
But then if you see that the people who wrote the Bible were trying to put in words what they experienced themselves, and like you said,
Right.
you can't really know the front of God, so you have to do the best you can by
There
writing
it
down as
is.
many
Oh.
metaphors and.
So deep, man. I like that a lot. And so, you know, they tend to, when questioned, they say, no, it's not by God. It's divinely inspired. they
Right.
say.
Right.
And I'm like, I feel like I made this joke before, but I'm divinely inspired right now. like divinely inspired. That doesn't really hold up unless it does.
You could write something as good as the Bible now, and people
Right.
be like, "No,
Right.
that's not divinely inspired."
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm
They
telling
were,
you.
but not
I'm
you.
just because they're
man.
ancient. Yo.
I would make a totally like Elden Ring Bible. Like, there would
Yeah.
be giants and
As long
like
as it's
giant
inspired.
battles and like magic.
Yeah, that sounds like the Hindu tradition, man. Frankly, this is what they do.
We should all write our own.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna write my own Bible.
Live by your own
Bible.
ancient text.
By your own ancient.
No, I agree that
Ancient. I wrote it last week.
because Arjuna's story is all about warfare, at least at the start, it seems like.
Right.
And
this is just
warfare.
a piece of the Bhagavad, which is just like an ancient book of gods battling and families and fighting in turmoil. 10,000 demon gods coming to kill you, and you're fighting them off. And yeah, I don't know what happens. It's too long to read, and I guess that's my point. It's like someone told me one time, if you read this or the Ramayana, you'd have to read 24 hours a day for 4 months
What?
to finish it off. Sometimes they do it on a loudspeaker in India.
Oh my god.
Yeah, just like it's like, I don't know, it's crazy, man. It's crazy, dog. Too many stories.
It's cool to imagine that it's all a battle because that's you could kind of tell the same story about Jesus' crucifixion. How many demons were probably in his mind, walking up to the hill and stuff like that. All the enemies that were in the crowd spitting on him and abusing him.
So basically, to summarize my thoughts on this, is that this is really telling us that God is everything. And we always say that, don't we? But I think sometimes we forget that, oh, but I made a mistake. That can't be God. Oh, but something evil happened. That can't be God. Something. No, God is everything. I thought you just said that. Are we not agreeing that God is everything? So I think it's very interesting that in essence, it is counterintuitive. I tend to say about this life, I've been lied to so much that if you just do the opposite of what anyone tells you, aka the way that you're prone to do it, you'll probably be better off because nobody has your journey, nobody has your experience. That truly makes you a son of God, is not following the trends. Like, you were put here for a reason, and so many times we hear other people's stories, but if we take it as just inspiration and not a guide book through life, you're in way better shape. Read the Bible, sure, but that's not your life. Don't do what they're doing.
It's funny.
Don't sacrifice the goat.
I think it was in the Tao of a few weeks ago where you were like, "Oh, you're already on the path. The path is your path. You don't need to change the path because you're on the path. You got to be on the path. Is path."
There it is. I couldn't have said it
Too much
better myself.
idea of some kind of path where
Yeah.
there's already a path
Don't
you're
be
in.
creating a path
Yeah.
when there it is. Overwhelmed, hairs standing on end, Arjuna instantly bowed down into prayer and veneration. So he's kind of like freaking out. He sees that God is everything. And we could say that word, everything. But like I said, everything, if you really think about everything,
Right.
it's not something you can really think about. So overwhelmed, he instantly prays. What does that mean?
He had divine. He just saw it. He had divine pure belief. He had lost all fear. He was pure faith. He's like, "Oh my God,
Cool, yeah.
everything is exactly as it should." And he
Sick.
just fell in shock with awe.
Damn.
And
yep.
we think we know what everything means.
Yeah. Oh, it's everything.
But
5 times
he
a day,
means
say that.
everything.
Yeah. We could just say that so nonchalant, just
Yeah.
like as a term. Studying language, you realize that, you just say things. You just say things because it is a tool, much like language. It helps you kind of describe without getting the real full meaning because you never could through language. So he falls down in veneration and prayer almost naturally, almost as if the path is laid out before him. He didn't create the path in his head. I like what Poge said. It's back to fear versus faith. He was fully 100% everything in faith mode. And what would you do if you saw God in his full glory? There's nothing you could do because you can't see the face of God. You could only see his back. By saying the word, this is deep. By saying the word everything, you're looking at the back of God. That's all you could do. But by really knowing everything, you're looking at the face of God. By really like thinking everything, that's the faith of God. What could you do? You get on your knees and you bow down.
I think that's what I meant earlier when I said that you become paralyzed almost.
Right.
You're too paralyzed with everything
Paralyzed.
that you just naturally instinct is to just cast it all away kind of thing.
So very deep, very deep. You got to cast it all away because that's all we can do as human beings, right? You cast it all away. You can't look at the face of God. You guys understanding that you must get down and pray if you saw everything. We can't do that. He has the eyes of God. We don't. So you have to willingly get down and pray. However, there's also something subtle here that is if you had the eyes of God looking into the face of God, all you do 24/7 all day, every day would be get down and pray.
You'd be just overwhelmed with awe
In
and
veneration,
amazement.
exactly.
You wouldn't be able to live.
That's so fucking deep because this is almost telling you the purpose of life. This is telling you what it means to be human. It's saying that I am not showing you the face of God because you couldn't see God because you wouldn't be human. You'd just be praying all day because you're not me. We're not eye to eye.
And you know what I like? I think it was Jesus. He said, "A corrupt generation wants a sign, and for that no sign shall be given."
Very deep, dog. More sweet poetry by an OG.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. But you guys get the depth of that, right? That like in essence, if we saw God, we wouldn't be human because we wouldn't live. Because there's nothing else to do. Almost like a little bit of the human nature is the demonic nature,
It's
is
like
the fallen state.
we
That's how
have-
we live.
We have these blinders or processing limits in our brain so that we could just not go insane all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
Right?
the nature of forgetting. That's the nature of limitation. That's the nature of life itself, being a limited human being so we can have this experience. And maybe Christians or certain people would say, oh, that's kind of where free will comes from. You know, God's giving you the choice to get down and pray for 20 minutes a day or whatever. So you don't have to do it all day, but you kind of keep that memory, keep the positive form of memory, aka faith instead of fear. Therefore, you live on two planes at once, as other traditions tell us to do.
A lot of our daily life is kind of just surviving.
Yeah.
We're trying to nourish this vessel.
Very true.
Takes
And,
up a lot of time, takes up a lot of thought.
It really does, and in its purest essence, if we think that's all that exists, then it is sort of demonic in the way that the religious text would put it. It's like, do you really have to live? Nah, if you're good in this life and you just give everyone else your food, you'll live on in the next life. But that's seeing too much of everything. I think that's why we don't do it. It's seeing the face of God is to actually do as Jesus said, give away all your clothes and your possessions and your food. So, Arjuna says, Dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled together in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva and many sages and divine serpents. I guess serpents are a big thing over there. Dragons and shit are all over the place. So what I get from that off the bat to start it is that sort of all gods are contained within God, right? We kind of talked about that, which really does allow for pantheons to the open mind, to one who really knows God or is open to God. It does allow for pantheons because these are spirits that human beings represent as divine beings, but really they're sort of archetypes of the human experience.
You know, I think the pantheon is in the Catholic Church.
Yes.
It's just not monsters and demons. It's like Saint Anthony
Yeah.
and, like Mother Teresa
Yeah.
now became a saint, I think.
Dog.
Right? Those are like pantheons. You pray to that. Like if I lose my keys, I got to pray to Saint Anthony.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yo, it's funny because you mentioned this before, but I didn't take it as far as I maybe even wanted to because this might be heretical to some people. But even part of the pantheon, I would call Jesus. Like, he's just another guy. He's a messenger of God. Some people say he is God.
He's the son.
Yeah, the son of God. But yeah, even how they
It's
say
the
it, he's
Trinity.
the son of
It's
God.
the Trinity. That's the tough part.
Right. Yeah, Trinity I've never really been all about in that sense. He says in previous chapters, I don't blame you for praying to the demigods. Just know that you're praying to me through them, but you're doing it, and I quote, indirectly and incorrectly. And I think, honestly, that's what happens when we pray to saints, when we pray to Jesus. Even a lot of these saints, and Jesus himself was like, don't pray to me. All these guys, they said it at different times because they knew maybe they were enlightened. Maybe they were doing great miracles and were with God. And if you really are, you know, it's like, hey, I'm not God. I'm just with God.
Man,
Wow.
people just want to be comfortable and have their characters so that they
Right,
get to
there
know
it is,
them.
dog.
That's really what it is.
Hot take.
Yeah.
It's true. It's the pantheon. It's like,
Yeah.
let dudes have their pantheons.
People want their soap opera.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Because we're
this
human.
God
Yo,
was
you're
fighting
so
with this
true.
God. This God said, oh, I'm not going to tell her.
It's fun. It's living. It's not being on your knees for your entire life. And it is what God said. You're praying to me. You are. You're doing it. I don't hate you. You're probably going to go to heaven, but you're just doing it indirectly and incorrectly. If you did it more correctly, you'd be born on this with the moon spirits or whatever, you know. They say, you reincarnation, whatever.
It's probably more palatable that way, so that's why it's like,
Yes.
yeah, I understand. You're human. You know, you gotta figure out some way to get there indirectly.
And that's the problem with maybe some of this Abrahamic religion stuff, where if you don't do it right, you're going to hell. They don't talk like that. If you don't do it right, you're going to go to hell. You know, it's very strict. You have to do it or you don't. And I think that's what pushed so many people away from Christianity in the Abrahamics so many times. You know, Nietzsche said, God is dead and we have killed him because we forgot what it is. And we made God completely into an idol. And people know instinctually that God is not an idol. God is God, so I reject your traditions.
Yeah, it's like a fight. It's all about the idea of everything again. It's like
Seriously.
instead of Arjuna
That's the
just
battle.
looking at the back of God and taking what he could get, it's as if we're like tapping on the shoulder. It's like, turn around, I want to see you kind of thing.
Holy
So it's a
shit,
fight.
man. I love that a lot. Turn around, brothers. Yo, I love that a lot because you just gave me the deepest concept of this whole series so far, which is the battle that Arjuna is going in, you know, fighting his friends and family. I don't think it's even a real battle, dog. I think it's a battle within.
Ooh.
Dog, for those who are spiritually awakened, which Arjuna has been defined as, you must fight your friends and family. You must fight your kin. You must fight people who are supposedly on your side and say, no, you're wrong. I'm not doing your tradition. I'm not going along to get along. And yes, people will die. You have to let them suffer and die. But that's the battle of Jesus. They killed him. It was a battle that Jesus fought, him versus the closest ones in his life. And I bet even Mother Mary was like, all right, Jesus. Yeah, sure. I'm thinking that Krishna just gave Arjuna some DMT, really. He's seeing all these things. I think of like DMT elves and all these technology. He sees Brahma sitting on a lotus. He sees this and Shiva, different people doing different things.
Yeah, that sounds, when you break it down like that sounds more insane to see on the lotus.
Seriously. And then for 10 verses, Arjuna explains all the sights, all the things we've kind of heard, like last time Krishna going on, I'm this, I'm that. He sees, I see this, I see that, I'm crazy.
I'm the sky, I'm the ground, I'm the wood, I'm
Yeah,
the water.
exactly. And then he goes in verse 25, I can no longer maintain my equilibrium. Oh, dog. Seeing your radiant colors fill the skies and beholding your eyes and mouths, I am afraid. Dog,
Uh-oh.
the trip is going south.
Oh, no.
Oh, Lord of Lords, please be gracious to me. This is as deep as it gets here. I cannot keep my balance seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions, I am bewildered. Let me start off by saying, because I'd like to hear your interpretation, and comment as well at home. this is where the trip goes south. Much like all trips, maybe it starts off good and then it ends in chaos and hell. What is this? What is going on here? He's saying, take it away. He's saying, I cannot keep my balance. Please, Lord, be gracious to me.
Oh, I think I've got it. It's the quote-unquote good was too much to handle for too long of a period of time, where he had to go descend back into the bad to deal with the incomprehensiveness between at both extremes. He had his only choice now is to go back and endure a little suffering and a little bit of peace.
You know what?
I like it.
I will expand on Evan. He says he can no longer maintain his equilibrium.
Yep.
I think he's doing exactly maintenance on his equilibrium. He had too much divine, too much awe, and now it's like it's a dopamine, like almost like resettlement. So it's like, is it like getting high on God's divinity? For human, maybe.
Yeah, almost a natural reaction, you're saying. You get the high and then you got to get the low.
If you can't maintain an equilibrium anymore, that would suggest that at one point you had equilibrium.
Deep.
So maybe he's saying he's a new person. He's changed. He's living in a different state of consciousness now.
So interesting things to take away is that, like, before God had 1,000,000 miles and infinite miles and eyes, but now he's saying your faces are death-like and your teeth are awful. Like, so the face changed.
He saw the goodness in the universe. I should correct it. Like, he saw the goodness. Now he must witness all the killing, all the violence, everything that has to happen so that you could even identify good.
Damn, there it is, dog. That's real close.
Because nature is not good or bad.
Yes.
Nature is just nature. It's just, it can be violent. It could be beautiful bunnies being born, and those bunnies can be just eaten by hawks.
And that's just what it is, right?
And that's just what it is.
How do you feel about it? And what a lesson, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the lesson of this whole chapter, this whole story. Are you the oak or are you the reeds? Are you going to be rigid about these things? Are you going to accept the truth? Like, the hawks got to eat too.
And I think if he's seeing God, and God is everything, and the universe is all, and all is God, he's got to see the violent stuff too.
Right, very deep. Poge is getting it here.
You have to.
And you know how you said earlier we were talking about the tropes of God is love, God is all things. I feel like if you were to, you have that idea going in, so when you see God and know who God really is, like Arjuna did, then everything that you once thought was good about him, it's becoming, with your human consciousness, it's almost as if you see God as evil, but God doesn't have that interpretation of himself, of all things.
Deep, exactly. Wow, you guys are getting it. This is real good. So it's kind of just like, I could relate it to a trip, of course, which is what this sounds like. Life itself. We age and we get sick and we die. The Kalpas, they wrote about this every, however, 4 billion years. Life goes from good to bad over time. Things go from good to bad. They start off pure, beautiful, and they wither and die. It's the natural course of things, but as humans, we have a perspective on it. And if you really realize, if you look deep, this might be too deep for most, but the psychedelic experience, I've always said, people come to me, they say all the time, and they say, Mitch, I can't take psychedelics. I had a bad trip. It was a bad trip. This is so fun. Bad trip. There's no such thing as a bad trip, man.
What do you mean bad, my friend?
What do you mean bad? Explain this concept. A bad trip means you were smacked with some sort of truth that you didn't want to hear.
Some kind of front
of
God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got a peek of the side boob of God, You're like,
no. No peeping. No peeping Toms.
God is a classy lady, let me tell you. And so what is the psychedelic trip? What is life? It's about death and rebirth. This is what Jesus tried to teach us, or the story of Jesus. I die, I'm reborn in 3 days. I've had people who've taken way too much psychedelics and they hate their lives for a week. They say, oh my, I shouldn't have done that. I don't know who I am. Because you have to start living again. You have to die and be reborn. Let parts of yourself die. And that is scary. That is faces of death. But time and time again, we see these stories of rebirth. And if you're living in sin, you must be born again. That's where this comes from. And I think it's so awesome. It's so awesome that it appears almost in a prayer-like form. Who goes to God but those who need help? And he says, Lord of Lords, please be gracious to me. Is that not like most of your prayers? You're going through a tough time and you say, God, please stop giving me your toughest battles. Please just like help me out a little bit. I just need a little bit here. Please be gracious to me. Take this pain away. I can't keep looking at your evil faces. I can't think that God has a dark side. I can't think this. So we don't. All our religions, that bad stuff, that's not God. That's not God. Because we can't think everything. We can only say the word everything.
Whoa.
So fucking deep.
He's almost saying, all right, just help me not see your front anymore.
Yes.
Please, just give me just the back again.
Turn to the back once again, please.
Let me be comfortable in my former idea of what I thought was you.
Yeah.
Too much of you. Take that away.
Exactly.
Wow.
Oh, Lord of Lords, who are you? Exclamation point. Question mark. What is your purpose? He's yelling. He's screaming right now. God, he's like, come on, dog. Like, I thought I knew. I was just wise when this chapter started. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be gracious to me. He says it again. I do not understand your ferocious form and actions.
Damn, he can't reconcile with the truth
Can't do it.
that there's bad things in the world.
Yeah, wow, so deep. It is a trip,
He's
man.
like, why, Lord? Why did you do this?
Why would you do this to me? I thought you're God. I thought you're love, right? No,
He's
dude.
like-
Stop saying God is this. God
He's
is
like,
this.
damn right, I'm
He's
God.
everything. I'm God, bitch.
Yeah, he's ready to fuck you up.
Oh my God.
That's
He
right.
is everything. Dude, that's so deep because we forget that so hardcore in the West. I'll say it one last time and I'll stop harping, but God, if God is everything, he's everything, dude. You can't pick and choose.
So even the words we use, like God is love, can't you just say the front of God is love too? And we don't actually know what love is. We think we want to
Very deep.
believe that God is love, but we don't know what true love is.
Very deep.
Until we get too much of that love, then we're like, take it away.
Yeah, exactly. Too much to handle. Now, this is sort of the line that is always attributed to Oppenheimer, but it's slightly misquoted here. Krishna says, to answer his question, you know, when he's like, who are you? Krishna answers, he says, I am time, the destroyer of worlds. And I have come to engage all people, with the exception of the Pandavas and you, my friend. All the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. So I could have broken that down into two. I probably should have. But Oppenheimer says, I am death, the destroyer of worlds. But no, this is even worse. This is deep, and this is a closer translation. I am time, the destroyer of worlds. I've come to engage all people. So death in that sense. That's why it's translated as death, because time will take all people, right? That's why it is death. And he's really saying, it's crazy. This is so deep. This is like a amazing guru here, because he says, I'm time, and then rips you right back to earth. This is as deep as it gets, frankly. He rips you right back and says, all that stuff you just saw, 10 chapters, that's gone. We're back to chapter 1. We're back in the battle. Like a poof, like a cloud of smoke. He says, everyone here is gonna die, and I'm the one that's gonna kill him. There's nothing you could do. You're going to be the one that survived. The Pandavas, which is like the ruling family, I guess. Everyone will be slain.
Wow. It all came back full circle, because you would think Arjuna would say, well, then why fight?
Yeah.
But then he's like, you're going to fight.
Yeah, there it is. And that's kind of how it all started, if you remember, too. Why? Blah, blah, blah. This is back and forth.
It's
Tell me
all
this. Tell
cyclical.
me this. I need to know. Now he's like, I am time. I'm going to kill everything. And that's why you got to fight. What? 10 chapters, and this is back to where we are? So time also means, as well as death, it also means truth to me, right? These are things that will happen. It's the talk of free will versus determinism, right? You guys remember this? Everyone always says, oh, you free will guy, you determinism guy. If we really know the truth, of God, it's a fake question. It's a fake question because you will always feel that you are living and feel like you're making your own choices, but your own choices are part of the predestination in a way. And even that's a simplified way to talk nonsense. It's not a real thing. It's all rhetoric. And yeah, so God becomes ugly if you see as he sees. It's the dad who makes the tough calls, right? That's why people always call God the masculine spirit, because he has to be the evil faces sometimes for the world to go around. But as humans, we don't like that. We don't like dad because he's mean. We don't like dad because he's harsh. He punishes me sometimes. But that's the side of God that you just don't want to see.
Yeah,
we like the feminine side of God. We like that God.
Maybe it's why strong leaders work. Like, whether we like it or not, they're effective. Whether we like it or not, they work out and get things done.
Yep. Trump right now, he hurts my feelings, but then my country's in a better place. I wish he'd hurt my feelings more, frankly.
Sooner.
and a lot sooner. That's why women are always like too fake nice. Their whole thing is to be like fake nice. They'll be so nice that the world around them will collapse and everybody will starve and suffer. And like, is that really nice though? Is that nice to watch everybody slowly die?
Yeah,
because you're not hurting any feelings?
You kindly told them that they're all going to starve.
Yeah. Don't worry, sweetheart. You're going to die. There's no food.
It's okay.
But at least we have each other.
Yeah, petting his head. At least we have each other. What the fuck, Mom? Are you kidding me? You kidding me with this bullshit? Therefore, get up and prepare to fight. The dad's saying, you better get up, dog. After conquering your enemies, you will enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you can be but an instrument in the fight. If you fight, you will win. Wow,
What does
that mean?
That took a turn.
Yeah, seriously. Bro, the whole book was a turn. 10 chapters of just like this and that and talking.
Essentially now he's like, don't worry, I'll back you up, bro.
Yeah, don't worry, I got you.
Yeah,
now that you know, now that you've seen as me.
Now that you've seen my real face.
Yeah.
Now you know me.
You can understand
We've been through some
what's
shit,
going on here.
So now I got you.
Man, I've been through some shit.
But how can you trust the concept of win if everything you just thought you believed is out the window?
Yeah.
I don't even know what win means.
Because now you're boys.
Yeah, you're boys, dog. You went through a lot with God. You're chilling.
So yeah.
You seen as he did. You put the shoe on the other foot.
Now you're gonna snuff out some homies.
Yeah. Seriously. So it proves in a way that things are already set, and free will versus predetermination are kind of a stupid concept because they're one and the same. It is really just rhetoric. It's just like an idea. Yet again, it's creating the path in the head instead of just walking the path. It's so true, so real. And Arjuna realizes this. He realizes what's being said to him, that he's going to win the battle, and goes on to praise and praise. He says, obeisances from the front, from behind, and all sides. I didn't even realize this, but this is probably tied to the face and the back of God, speaking of which.
Obeisances?
Obeisances, yeah, you just praying and, praying and praising and stuff. Oh, unbound power, you are the master of limitless might. You are all-pervading, and thus you are everything. He finally gets it, I think. He knows that. So going through being homies with God, he knows that it'll work out. God just told him that. But here's where it gets deep. I think it's going to work out for all of us. But we just don't know it, and he knows it now. God is telling us all the time that things are going to work out, that you're okay. But you might have to see the scary face of God, but it's just that. It's a scary face of God. You're not being forced to stare at the front. He gives you the back. I really think that he's saying this. Yet again, the author is saying this to Arjuna, but he's really saying it to us. He's giving you faith in a way. It's like, don't you know it's going to work out? Like, don't you know this? Don't you have faith? Like, you could have this faith too. God just told me, but he's really telling you if you are willing to be the awakened one. Oh, best of Guru warriors!
You must simply trust your homie.
No one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine, for neither by studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, charities, or similar activities can this form be seen. Only you have seen this. Your mind has been perturbed upon seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free from all disturbance, and with a peaceful mind, you can now see the form of your desire. So he's taken away the eyes of God right now. He's back. When I see you cannot see this form by studying the Vedas, sacrifices, charities, similar activities, we go back to my favorite Gnostic Gospel of Thomas. Right? Remember that one where he says, if you fast, you will bring sin upon yourself. If you pray, you will be condemned. If you give to charity, you will harm your spirits. Why is this? Because he knows you. He knows you maybe better than the original gospel writers that we keep. Because he's saying like, oh, you're going to give to charity, all right, but you're going to think about it. You're not going to just be somebody who gives to charity. You're going to be like, oh, the book told me to. Here's charity. So he says, don't. If you're going to think about it and that's not already who you are, you're better off keeping it.
You're going to have a little pep in your step as you walk away from giving charity.
Yeah.
A false, grandiose attitude.
I see this Catholic meme on Twitter sometimes. Maybe I'll put it up. Where it says, $1 trillion or a 10-minute lunch with Jesus. What would you guys take?
I condemn the person for asking the question.
On the bottom, somebody commented, it says, I'm not worthy of being with Jesus. Give me the trillion.
Nice. Oh, that was a good answer.
Yeah, right. I'm not worthy. The feature of God, how do you put it? The horrible feature is the necessary evil. Right? Christians seem really confused about this because I did research into like what they actually believe about God. Like, is he everything? I was always confused. Lucifer, this and that, God created all good. It's very confusing. But the Christians actually believe that God is not everything. They believe he is simply a transcendent being. God is immanent. He is present and active within creation, but creation itself is not divine. Very interesting, right? And they see evil as the result of free will. God didn't create evil. No. Free will created evil. So this is kind of new to me. It's such a complicated concept that they don't really spell out necessarily.
That was definitely the Christian interpretation I learned.
Oh, okay. Yep,
is that,
you did too.
God didn't make evil. That's why Satan exists itself, because he is a fallen angel who just chose to be
had
evil.
free will too. He chose. Yeah.
He chose. So
that's
he
interesting.
chose to create hell. He chose to evil to spread through the universe.
That's cool. Yeah. It was always a little complicated to me, but that is cool to actually solidify.
That's interesting how the Hindu faith sees God as all things, the good and the evil that we interpret to be.
Yeah.
But Christianity, for whatever reason, it was too hard to focus into one being, so they had to split it into Satan. Like Satan, that's the guy who's doing all the bad stuff going on.
He was the first one to descend.
Yeah.
First one to create evil.
It's also, there's like a word for this, but you know, evil, that's not God. Like you're covering for him a little bit. God would never do that.
Right.
So then how can I reach God? I mean, we kind of been looking throughout this whole thing about how do I reach God? I don't have the eyes of God. I think by letting go of being God. That's what this is saying. You're nothing. You're not meant to look at the eyes of God. And once you're nothing, you become part of everything. And the big finish, my dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am. One who is engaged in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of previous activities and from mental speculation, who is friendly to every living entity, certainly comes to me. Wow, deep, dog. We followed the clues the whole time and we were right. It is telling us now at the end of chapter 11, I got 4 or 5 things here. Pure devotional service, contaminations of previous activities. What is that? Previous activities.
The past.
Is the past.
Your memories.
What do we get from the past? Regrets.
Guilt.
Guilt we get from the past. And then we have mental speculation. What is that?
Fear.
The future. The fear, the anxiety that comes from what has not come yet.
I like how he put it differently than just past and future.
Yeah. Speculation,
Speculations.
previous activities, and devotional service, and being friendly, kind, probably to every living being. And one certainly comes to me. It's just not thinking you're God. This is kind of the final thing. If I have to simplify it, I would say something like that. Be devotional, have a little bit of obeisance, pray 20 minutes a day, whatever, just to center yourself if that's what you need. But you really have to, and that's probably a means to get away from the previous activities and mental speculation, is to be with God. So do what you do, but for God. Remember that it's not for you. You're doing things for God. I think that's what devotional service actually means. Whatever you do, do it for God. Keep him in mind. That's what presence is. You almost can't be present for yourself or with yourself. It is with all. Presence is to be with all. And that's the big conclusion of chapter 11. Let's get into Mitch Translates the Tao. Mitch Translates the Tao, chapter 52. The world's beginning is the world's mother. In obtaining the mother, one can know the child. Knowing the child and returning to the mother, even in death you will be safe. Stop the senses, close the gates, and you will not toil in life. Open to the world and pursue its affairs, you will not be saved. Seeing the small is called clarity. Protecting the weak is called strength. Use the light to return to clarity, and you won't be lost in chaos. This is the practice of eternal presence. Man, super cool. I like right off the bat. They're always related because these are people who knew God, right? Stop the senses and close the gates, and you will not toil through life. He's saying what Krishna said at the end. Devotional service, don't be in the past, don't be in the future, and you will be with me. It's in a way, the devotional service is stopping the senses. It's being with the present moment, to be present with God. Not by even using the senses, but to be with the spiritual senses, if anything.
This reminds me of some mundane tasks like cleaning. Like you can be with God, my friend, when you are cleaning the floor.
Yeah.
You can be with God when you are emptying the counter. You can.
Maybe that's where you're the closest.
And at the same time, I feel like I'm very not with God when I'm putting off the cleaning of my kitchen or something. When I know it has to be done, but I don't just begin it.
Yeah.
But as soon as I begin cleaning, I feel so much better. I'm like, oh yeah, things are
Maybe
getting
because
done here.
the mundane forces you to be with God, and some people can't handle it.
Yes. I like that a lot because, people need to listen to music in the car, this and that, watching YouTube videos as soon as they wake up, smoking. Dude, they can't be with themselves.
No.
And I like your point too, Evan. What were you saying? Because it becomes a thought yet again. Oh, I have to clean the house. I know I got to. You're putting it off, maybe for Poja's reason, maybe for your own reasons, anxiety, trapped in the past, trapped in the future. It's a thought yet again.
And you know what's funny? Arjuna was you could argue he was suffering more when he was like going through the thoughts in his mind about trying to determine if he should fight or not.
Yeah.
He suffered more then when he actually saw God and said, "Oh, this is too much. Give me back my fight that you took me away from, my war that I had to go to."
Wow, that's cool.
So in seeing the everything in God, the good and the very evil, dark evil, or whatever he saw,
Yeah.
that was better than, his fight was worse than seeing God and living with him.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Man.
And then he understood after that this fight is it's nothing.
It's nothing, man. I seen God. I could kill the fight, and especially God's like, all right, with regard to you doing your chores or whatever. God's like, all right, don't worry, Evan. Your chores will be fine. He's rubbing his head. You'll be successful in your fucking chores. Just do it.
Just get off your
and
ass.
you're like, oh, chores, man. Yeah, right. In a weird way. That's so cool.
And as soon as I start, I always feel good. It's like, man, things are getting done. Things are shaping up around here.
Do you think that's what God says too?
Right.
So I think it's cool. The world's beginning is the world's mother. Okay, beginning mother. By obtaining the mother to know the beginning, you know the child. What is the child of the beginning, right? Maybe yourself, perhaps. Maybe life's manifestations.
Innocence.
Time.
Time, innocence. Oh, very good.
Time
all
is the
applicable.
child of the beginning.
Oh, just getting the deepest.
And innocent souls, they don't try, they just do. They've got no thought of the future or the past.
Oh, cool. In that sense, maybe being with time. Yeah. So then to do this is stop the senses and close the gates to the outward world. And it says here, in death you will be safe. That's my translation. Some people say like you will be safe throughout life, but it literally says like in death. But I don't think people have a concept of that. I'm thinking even deeper, like even dying can be a safe activity. If you are one with time, if you are present with God, if you have repented by the end, if you are in the moment. Who's that famous writer that was like on LSD when he died on purpose? He's like, I want to be tripping sack when I die.
I have no idea.
That's
Who the
pretty
fuck
bold
was
and
that?
brave.
Yeah, bold guy. Damn, I can't remember.
Dying is safe, Mitch?
Safe, man, if you could believe it. If you
But
are
you're dying.
It's very
If
safe.
you're dying, it's safe.
Safest
Don't
thing you could
worry.
do.
Safest thing. It's the most natural thing ever. People are afraid of GMOs. Nah. Death is natural, organic, baby.
But maybe the front of God, it's the same thing. It's not as bad as what you think.
Man, just keep your eyes closed. Open to the world. Open those eyes. Pursue its affairs, and you will not be saved. If you're too worldly, it's really living on two planes at once. You could be living in sin. Everybody hates you. You hate yourself. You have money. You don't know what to spend it on. You have no peace. You go to hell because your life is a living hell. Or on the opposite side of the spectrum, you could do obeisances all day, 24/7, and never live. Let's try to be two planes at once a little bit. Keep God in mind and still live your life. I think that's the best way we could go about this. Seeing the small is called clarity. Protecting the weak is called strength. Very deep. I like that a lot. If you could see the small things, you are living clearly. Right? Use the light to return to the clarity, and you won't be lost in chaos. And this is the practice of eternal presence. As we end at 11, we end Tao 52. How was that one, guys? Did you have fun?
Man.
Eternal presence. The flame.
The unflickering flame. Guys, as usual, be the unflickering flame. Thanks for joining us. Hope you learned a lot. Comment if you got something to say. We'll read it on the show, please. Come on, man. And we'll catch you next time on Ancient Wisdom. You gotta live.